My grandmother worked pharmacist, and we got her to take our house, we call them medication.
I was reading the ghost tour.
Sure, you wanted this? I believe I started getting messages. Yeah. Tim or Oh, yeah. I don't know about that. And he rolls in. You'll get a few minutes. He'll stay out here.
They too big.
See more stuff to put out there? Yeah.
Granddaughter is in Nightfall.
I don't know if it's the government shut down or not, but the TSA knows it's just dead.
That's all I know.
This is ridiculous. We have the bridges. This took us 30 minutes. Even like the bridge, just a lot. I don't know if it's shut down. This was crazy. I don't know. All right, at this time, I will call to order the Monday, October 13th, 2025 City Council regular meeting. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jody, can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor King,
Here.
Councilman Niner,
Here.
Councilman Newberry,
Here.
Councilman Eno,
Here.
Councilman Doomer.
Here.
Quorum being present, if everyone has had an opportunity to review the agenda as presented, do I have any objections to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. If you've all had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda, are there any objections from council to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. This time, I will open up the floor to public comment. Please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Your comments need to be limited to 3 minutes.
Sorry. I just have a question. Hi, Carla Murray, 300 North Campbell Street, Pleasantville, Missouri, 64080. My question is when will the new UDC be updated into the Muni Code online? And when will we have available the new zone map? Because new zones were introduced in the new UDC. And I'm sure everybody's just been really busy and I haven't been able to get a copy of that yet. And I just would like to be able to get a copy of that as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, no one else? We will continue on. First item for consideration is Resolution 25-33, the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. So in front of you is the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement. As you recall, back in July, we had a visitor, Nadja, with the Mid-America Regional Council came here after some of you, council, had been made aware that we had some residents that had gone to a household hazardous waste event earlier in the year and they were turned away because the city was not a member. So Nadja made a presentation back at our last meeting, or actually I think it was our first meeting in July. And at that time, council showed an interest in participating with the caveat if they would prorate the amount for the remainder of the year, to which they followed back and had indicated they would. And then we made you all aware that we were, had engaged with them and that our residents, we had Kylie put it out on social media, could begin using the household hazardous waste program starting August 1st. So it does run by calendar year. So as an existing member now, since we joined as of August, they had sent us the contract for the upcoming year. So as you can see, that is what you have in front of you. And with that being said, just as it was before, the fee for that is a prorated amount based on the per capita of our population. So as stated in the memo in your packet, the annual fee for 2026 is $10,104.96. That is a per capita rate of $1.14 that is applied to the 2024 census population estimates. That was determined by what they provided us in attachment 1 that you have in your packet. So happy to provide any questions. This would be then the full year's fee for 2026 is what it would be. If you guys would approve, obviously because the way it falls with our budget year, starting April 1st, our current fiscal year doesn't end until March 31st. If you guys approve, we would then just do a budget amendment and bring it back to you all on the consent agenda at the next meeting. That way it would just come, because again, we've already adopted this year's budget. We would just, it would come from the fund balance. We'd bring you a budget amendment that you could approve. Like I said, we just didn't want to do that until we had presented the contract in front of you this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council?
No.
Anyone from the public like to comment on this resolution before we take action? Please step up to the podium. All right, do I have a motion for resolution 25-33, the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-33, the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second on resolution number 25-33, the 2026 Household Hazardous Waste Agreement. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo,
Yes.
Councilman Junior.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is Bill 25-34, an ordinance adopting Appendix C, the City of Pleasant Hill Design and Construction Manual, into the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pleasant Hill, Missouri.
Thank you, sir. So as a component of finalizing the UDC, the adoption of the UDC this year, in accordance with the 2040 comprehensive plan, the city must provide minimum design and construction standards for the development of public and private infrastructure within the city limits of Pleasant Hill. So Tony and our engineering staff have been through our proposed design and construction manual, which is attached in our agenda here and to the bill as proposed. This will give guidelines for all infrastructure within the city limits of Pleasant Hill. If you have questions about those standards, Tony's going to be a better person to answer all that.
Is this new? Is this, or is it updated or is it brand new?
The document itself is new. We've always followed APWA standards anyway. This just gives further, more detailed guidance.
But this document is totally new.
Yes.
And I was wondering, like in section 2300 where it says like the City of Pleasant Hill hereby adopts section 2800 of the KC Metropolitan Chapter, is that normal to, or do we not put what it says, or?
So because there were no edits or changes to that specific chapter, we just adopted the chapter as it is.
Yeah, and that is normal practice.
Okay.
Yep.
And I did notice that some of the links, when I was reading it electronically, the links were not sending me anywhere.
You would have to go to the APWA manual
Okay.
and look at underneath their sections.
Okay.
And that's for, any developer, designer, builder, they're gonna know where to go in that APWA document.
Okay.
But when it's published, the links will take them where they need to go since they use that.
That's a good question. I don't know that the links will take you to them.
Okay.
I'll have to find that out.
And we can check on that, and then ultimately it will be uploaded into Mimicode, and then typically they connect those links, but we'll double check on that and make sure that if it is possible that it gets done that way.
There was some great light reading over the weekend. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Before council takes action on this bill, anyone from the public like to address council on Bill 25-34? right, do I have a motion on bill number 25-34, an ordinance adopting Appendix C, the City of Pleasant Hill Design and Construction Manual into the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pleasant Hill, Missouri?
I'll make a motion to approve bill number 25-34, an ordinance adopting Appendix C, the City of Pleasant Hill Design and Construction Manual into the Code of Ordinances of Pleasant Hill.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve bill 25-34, an ordinance adopting Appendix C, the City of Pleasant Hill Design and Construction Manual into the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo, Councilman Duma.
Yes.
All right, bill passes. Next item is a presentation on the 2025 Cass County Fair recap.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll get the TVs coming up here real quick with the presentation. Huh? Did you?
Somebody on this computer needs to drive the
Oh.
TVs.
Sorry, my bad. Doesn't have to be me, then just give me one. Huh? Can you put that in Kylie's? Oh, I know. Hang on one second, we gotta get this adapter real quick, sorry about that.
Man, we're off 3 weeks.
I know.
We can get out of practice.
Is it right there? It's right here. Oh, sorry. I think it's the same. Yeah. Do you have USB? Here, let me send you the feedback. That'll be nice. Sorry, I forgot that there was an adapter necessary.
Seemed like a good time.
Sorry, it was way taking longer to load. Okay, Missy, I just sent it to you. You want to take a second to look through it?
Speed of government.
There's every Monday night.
Thank you.
That's like a holiday thing. Yesterday was a holiday.
Tomorrow, it would be Tuesday morning. Thanks
See if you download right there. If you open the download, it might just show up as a PDF. Just open that download right there. I mean, it's not the prettiest, but it's still. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay.
Technology.
Now we're cooking with gas. All right, so the 2025 Cass County Fair was held July 15th through the 20th, with pre-fair events kicking off on Sunday, July the 13th. Now, in its 31st year, the city once again welcomed visitors of all ages to celebrate the hard work of youth exhibitors and local artisans while enjoying some good old-fashioned fun during the third week of July. According to Merriam-Webster, a county fair is a fair usually held annually at a set location in a county, especially to exhibit local agricultural products and livestock. The first known use of the term county fair dates back to 1772. When you Google it, the AI overview describes a county fair as a public, often annual event that features competitive exhibitions of farm products and livestock, along with other amusement like ride, games, food, and arts and crafts. These fairs serve as a community gathering for both agricultural and recreational purposes, providing a platform for locals to showcase produce and skills while enjoying entertainment. I have to say, well done, Google summary. It's almost like they visit us during the fair this past year. You go ahead. This year's Cass County Fair Grand Marshal was Susan Mills Gray. When you read that definition of a county fair celebrating community, agricultural, and service, it's easy to see why Susan rose to the top of the list to be honored as the Grand Marshal. Susan has called Cass County home for 31 years. She retired from the University of Missouri in 2021 after a distinguished career that began in 1983. During her tenure, she served as an off-campus faculty member until 2013, and later on as an on-campus professor and administrator until her retirement. From 1988 to 2013, Susan worked from the MU Extension Cass County office, where she played a key role in numerous health impact projects and community nutrition initiatives. She was also a frequent guest on Kansas City television stations, sharing her expertise on nutrition and wellness. Among her many accomplishments, Susan co-led the community effort that opened the Cass County Dental Clinic in 2011, and then helped guide its expansion to a second location in 2015. She also represented Southern Cass County on the Health Forward Foundation's community board, and currently serves as a treasurer for the Cass Regional Hospital Foundation. She is a lifelong supporter of 4-H. Susan was a 4-H member in her youth and had continued to give back as a project leader, Clover Kid leader, and financial supporter of the annual 4-H Green Book Awards. Susan and her husband Bill live in southwest of Harrisonville on their family farm. It was really great to get to know, or I've known Susan a long time, but to share in her excitement and be a part of our event all week long. Go ahead. The Cass County Fair continues to thrive because of the dedicated volunteers who believe deeply in promoting our community and bringing people together. After taking a year off, the Cass County Fair Queen Pageant returned bigger and better than ever, thanks to a passionate group of volunteers who recognized its value and began planning nearly a year in advance to make it happen. This year's pageant featured 3 age divisions with contestants showcasing their talent, answering on-the-spot questions, and taking the stage in their very best attire during a lively evening just before the fair kicked off. The event drew a large audience for 2025 and was a true highlight of Fair Week. The winners of each division went on to reign over the fair's festivities throughout the week. As part of the tradition, the Queen Division winner represents Cass County at the Missouri State Fair Queen Contest. This year, our own Queen, Tyne Wilson, proudly represented the Cass County Fair, earning the title of third runner-up and winning the interview portion of the competition at the Missouri State Fair. She represented our community and our county with grace and excellence. The success of the Cass County Fair can be measured in many ways, but one of the most tangible indicators is the event attendance. Many factors influence both overall and individual event turnout, and our staff and volunteers monitor these numbers closely as part of our ongoing planning efforts. Of course, the biggest variable is always the weather. We often joke that Fair Week is the hottest week of the year, and this year certainly lived up to that reputation. In contrast, 2024 brought unseasonably cool weather, which helped draw record-breaking crowds. When planning for 2025, we projected revenues conservatively, knowing that last year's numbers were boosted by unusually favorable conditions. We figured lightning or cold weather wasn't going to strike twice in July in the Midwest. Currently, there is no gate or admission fee to attend down at the fairgrounds. Although main events do require a paid admission, we track attendance through ticket sales. But we recognize that actual attendance is higher than reflected because our sponsorship packets include main event tickets that are not accounted for in these sales totals. This year, sponsorship revenues increased by $6,100 over 2024, which means additional attendees are not reflected in the ticket data presented. Staff continues to monitor these trends closely, working collaboratively with our vendors and volunteers to adapt for our planning each year. Historically, attendance for our main events was estimated by dividing total gate revenue by an average ticket price, because there's a difference between adult and a child. Beginning this year, we are shifting to a wristband-based tracking system, which should improve our data accuracy. However, variations will still occur based on the number of wristbands distributed through sponsorships and the difference in adult and child usage rates. So with this tracker up here, I will say 2024 to 2025 attendance revenue comparisons. Our Tuesday event saw a decrease of $1,692. Our Wednesday event showed a decrease of $3,386. I will note, though, that over the past 2 years, we have had a focus of Wednesday night being family night, featuring free community events such as the Power Wheels race and bingo in the pavilion, which for 2 years now have been highly attended. Our Thursday night event showed an increase of $159.75. Our Friday, Saturday combined showed an increase in $2,834.09. And our Sunday event is the one that we're going to keep an eye on. It showed actually a decrease of $7,146.50. We just felt this was the best accurate reflection of the two comparisons since we've changed the way we're tracking ticket sales from last year to this year, because we have those actual hard data numbers for the revenues. So here on this next slide, you can see again that there's no single factor that determines the success of the Cass County Fair. While attendance at some events were slightly lower this year, likely due to the heat, the financial results remained strong at the Cass County Fair. Overall, the fair generated $3,522 more than it did in 2024, demonstrating the continued support of our community and the effectiveness of our planning efforts. As mentioned previously, the Cass County Fair continues to demonstrate strong support and engagement while reaching well beyond the 64080 zip code. When the fair was first established, it served both as a tool for economic development and tourism, as a way for local residents to experience a sense of place and pride in their community. The expenses reflected in this graph include both the cost to date and the planned 2025 COP payment for the new bleachers. Overall, revenues exceeded expenses by $5,650, which will return to the fund balance and can be allocated towards next year's budget if needed for maintenance and improvements. As we look back at this year's fair, these photos capture the scale of the event and the positive impact that it continues to have on our community.
Oh, did I go the wrong one? Sorry.
You're good. While the core operations of the Cass County Fair fall within Fund 65 special events of the city's budget, the event is truly made possible by the volunteers that choose to serve our community and our county each year. It's truly fascinating to see it all unfold. As you can see by the slide, there were over 200 plus volunteers and 3,000 plus hours of volunteers to make the event occur. Slide 9, sorry, I don't have a description. It's just a photo recap of different things that went on during the fair. Okay, this year we had an opportunity to partner with the Ray Peck Lead Center, a trades-based education program through the Ray Peck School District. The students were able to tackle many items on our list of needed improvements, completing projects that would have been costly if contracted out. This also freed up volunteers to focus on other important tasks leading up to the fair. Additionally, Midwest Lumber generously donated over $10,000 in materials, allowing the Lead Center students to complete these projects successfully. This is just one example of how relationships, collaboration, and community support drive success of the Cass County Fair. City staff and volunteers work together to identify businesses and individuals that see the positive impact that an event such as ours has on a community and in turn choose to give back. Staff was able to work with a large number of vendors for goods and services that otherwise would have to be paid for through revenues generated from the fair. Based on vendor estimates, these generous contributions saved over $50,000 in expenses for this year's fair. And most of this was in the form of materials. So as you can see, light towers, all types of things that make the fair to make it possible. The Cass County Fair has become a time-honored tradition of so many, and we feel it is truly reflected in the pictures that you see before you. This slide truly speaks for itself. Over the past few years, the marketing and advertising of the fair have grown significantly, allowing us to reach a larger audience and expand our community footprint. These efforts continue to tie back to the original goals of the Cass County Fair in 1994: economic development, tourism, and supporting the local economy by bringing people to town. I will note on this one, and I did include it in my preparations, but just the one, the streaming and the online listening, as radio audiences have changed. More people are streaming what they're listening to via the internet. And so we were able to work with Steel City Media, which is our radio host or radio sponsor or radio partner. So this year alone, which was new, we had 1,186,100 impressions, meaning touches or hears or what they heard while they were out there streaming their radio traffic. And that has to do with like geo-fencing and what they, how it's a little bit above my my pay grade, but I'm just, the way that it works and it's understanding, like when you're listening in a general area, so somebody that might just be driving through town, but let's say they're streaming an online radio station, it can pick that up where they're located, and so they may not be obviously from the area, but they would have potentially heard an advertisement for the Cass County Fair.
That's impressive and terrifying.
Isn't it though? Okay. There is truly something for everyone at the Cass County Fair. With events spanning 8 days, it's inspiring to see attendees from all walks of life participating, enjoying, and showcasing, making the fair a celebration for the entire county. I will note we had significant increase in numbers in our livestock entries this year. So kudos to Rachel Randolph and her group of volunteers that put that together. I will just highlight, because when I was going through it, I was actually significantly, I have that up here, surprised. The revenue on that in general last year went from $6,914 of revenue generated to this year was $15,435. So significant number of increase in entries and participation in our livestock shows. That's just the one that happened to jump out in the differences between the two.
Can I ask a question about that last
Yeah.
one? How, I'm just curious, how do we determine what livestock events? The reason I ask is, when I judged the Goats in Costume show, the young lady that they brought in from wherever here in Missouri and did all that, she said that we had a couple of events that were not normal for county events. They're more of state events. She was impressed
Okay.
because most county fairs don't have those kind of events. So how does that determine, who determines how to do that?
So there is a committee that does the livestock shows. Rachel is our chairman, and then each species has their own volunteer that runs that.
Yeah, that's something
that
I
event.
learned this year.
Yeah, and so with that being said, we are just actually blessed that the volunteers on that committee that are chairmen of each of their own individual species are very, very active and knowledgeable of their species, and again, some of the things that they do like outside of just local events, and so they have been now brought that in and incorporated it into our local event. So we actually draw livestock exhibitors from truly across the state. So that is in part due to the well-run shows. They can get in, they can display their animals, and again, it's typically hot. One of the most, while it sounds kind of counterintuitive, one of the greatest things is being able to get in, get your showdown, and get out, because they want to obviously, they have like animal husbandries at the forefront and making sure the animals stay safe. But then the second one too is we have a lot of sponsors that dump into those livestock shows to make sure that the kids are rewarded for all of their efforts. So by doing so, we are typically able to give away some pretty good prizes, and that then attracts kids to come in from outside of the county.
Okay, I was just curious.
Next one, Miss. Okay. As the fair continues to grow, so does the need to enhance the fairgrounds. Each year, we review what worked well, what didn't, and where improvements are needed to ensure the enjoyment and safety of all attendees. The fairgrounds are also a valuable city asset, requiring updates and maintenance as the facilities age and the usage continues to expand. So you can see most of these were talked about either in a previous slide in one way or the other. But one that we are super proud of continues to be our collaboration with other community groups. So for I believe it's the third year in a row, we were able to, the Pleasant Hill High School football team chooses to partner with us for their community, like their give back event. Coach Hamilton requires that the boys do some sort of community service every year, and we just have a footprint in which they can get it in and all be in one area and make a massive impact. So over the years, they have helped by painting fence. Again, fence rust, it has to be updated, improved, made look nicer, and by them doing so, there's a lot of them. They can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, and so we've been thrilled to be able to partner with them for 3 years now. And again, as earlier stated on that slide, we were super blessed by the Ray Peck Lead Center. It was just really fulfilling to see these kids who are out getting an education in trades to be able to use those skills that they are learning and apply them to real world scenarios, which they were able to do so by making the large improvements around the fairgrounds that they did. Next. So just a final recap as we kind of wrap up here. Again, despite the heat, we had some beautiful days, and we're able to bring a lot of people to town and put lots of smiles on lots of people's faces. All right. So in its truest form, the Cass County Fair is a public-private partnership that brings out the very, very best of Cass County and our communities that we look forward to even a bigger and better 2026 to celebrate the magic of the Cass County Fair. So with that, I will happy to answer any questions that you may have, but that is just a highlight and a recap of what was 2025.
Questions from council?
Sorry. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. So when you did the one screen about the improvements, the bleachers, the fencing,
You go back to this.
all of that, I just think it's important to note that that doesn't just benefit the Cass County Fair.
Correct.
That benefits anyone who uses the fairground for the barbecue bash, for,
They had a big soccer thing, the
yeah,
soccer
for
association
the,
used.
I know there's a company, a group that comes in for fireworks or, some big event. That benefits anyone that uses those fairgrounds.
Well, at the end of the day, it's still a city asset, and so as we work to, do improvements across the city, it is, as long as the council continues to prioritize it and use, hold on to the actual footprint, the parcel of ground, it is a city asset, and so, obviously it has to kind of be looked at holistically, but, one of the largest events obviously occurring down there is in the fair in July.
Kudos to that group. I think they did an awesome job.
Thanks.
Love the presentation. Of course, I want more of the breakdown, like how, did we make enough money to pay for the bleacher payments and all of that stuff?
We go back to that slide. We did. So that slide here is that in such, and I'll go back to, so yeah, that revenue, which was generated, and that the yellow bar of the expenses, that total expense, and sorry, my eyes, $268,335. That includes the bleacher payment for this year. So including that, the total revenue over expenses is $5,650.
So that took care of the whole year payment.
Yes, correct. Now, this year's payment was a little bit less because it was just for like a partial year, it was just obviously new. So with that being said, I will note, let me find my notes. So it was, and this will be reflected in the budget that we will present to you all, obviously for fiscal year 2027. So we're in 2026 or 2027.
That can confuse
sorry.
the hell out of me every time
I
think
know,
of it that
I know.
way.
Yeah, we are currently in budget year, fiscal year 2026. So with that being said, it will be our goal, or it will be our recommendation that within the fund balance of Fund 65, in the city's budget, that in that fund balance, we will hold back 1 year's debt payment every single year in the event, for some reason, again, severe weather, something that the fair would not generate enough revenue to make the debt payment, that there would always be a year's payment in the fund balance to be able to ensure that that payment can be made. So that will be our goal, again, as we bring those to you later in the start of the calendar year is when we'll start obviously having budget work sessions preparing for next year's budget. We'll include that information in there. But there is approximately $95,000 in the fund balance when we went into this budget year. And again, originally, and I think we've had some conversations, I know Shelby made a presentation earlier in the year about how it all works, and we gave a initial fair recap. In this year's budget, there was an intent to use $55,000 of that fund balance to help make improvements this year, because we did have a significant list of improvements that we wanted to make. Ultimately, because our revenues exceeded what we had expected, what would have happened had they not been there, we would have come back to you all with a budget amendment to transfer that money from the fund balance to this to make sure all of that could be covered. Well, that's not necessary. So we won't have to touch that fund balance for this year because our revenues did exceed what those expenditures are, despite the fact that we anticipated in the budget having to do so. So we will not. And am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Oh, and with that being said, this $56.50 will then also go onto that $95,000 that's sitting there for future, again, improvements, additions, whatever it might be that you also decide to choose.
So we're not losing $30,000 a year on the fair.
No.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
We will have one budget amendment. We pay all of our debt payments out of the debt service fund, so I will be bringing one for the next meeting to transfer that debt payment of $10,000 over to debt service fund, just to make the payment.
Because we don't make debt payments out of Fund 65,
Yeah,
we make debt payments out of the debt service fund.
Debt service.
So what is the yearly budget, the price fund?
The debt?
The debt.
Next year it's $38,000. Because we'll have a principal payment in there.
So as I have talked to some different groups in town, make the same spiel here. The fair is always looking for ways to improve. The demolition derby was a freaking train wreck. And we had a group of volunteers who came to Fair Board and pitched it that don't get rid of it, we can make it work. Last year, the pageant didn't happen, there just wasn't any participation in it. And we had a group that came to Fair Board and said, hey, we want to make it work. And that's what it takes. It just takes groups to stand up and help and say, hey, we want to be involved, we see a need here, and man, any way we can improve the fair benefits this community. The restaurants are busy. We have local restaurants that want to have food trucks at the fair, which benefits their businesses, so it is economic development. And like I said, this community is busy during that week, and it gets people here, and they get to see it, and every year we meet people from all over the place. And to that, it was, this year was somebody from Blue Springs that said, just to you what you said, they were driving through town and heard a advertisement for it and came back the next week for it. I couldn't believe how many times I heard that thing on 104. My wife was out of town, I was driving her car, and she listens to 104. I mean, it was constant.
So we actually had to increase our radio advertisement because as a sponsor, you get based on your level of sponsorship, you get a certain number of ads that help promote the fair. And so because we reflect, the number of sponsors that we had increased significantly this year, it then capitalized the amount of, so there's two types of advertisements. There's the ones that are it all is obviously trying to promote the county fair, but some of them have the tagline, and I'm just going to highlight one, brought to you by, Midwest Lumber, or, brought to you by, Gobbert Bank, whatever, the ones that, again, are sponsors. And then there are some ads that are just strictly promoting the fair that don't have any sponsor tied to them. Well, because we had so many sponsors, the number of those ads had shrunk considerably, and so we had to increase that number, which obviously is then reflected that our budget for sponsorship, our expense sponsorships increased, but clearly it was then covered because of the number of sponsors that we had. So that is probably why you heard more this year, is because, again, we had to increase the number of slots that we had between the two radio stations because of just the sheer number of sponsors that we had.
So I guess the question I would have then is, the fair is really no different than any city event we have. The Shamrock Shimmy, the UTV Parade, County Fair, everything are city events.
They're all in the, Spun
Do we advertise any of the other city events other than social media?
I don't think we have in the past. So, that is something we could probably consider. Obviously, the one that first and foremost comes to mind is UTV Parade, because that is obviously, we have actually a pretty large draw from outside of just Pleasant Hill that participate in that. I don't know how many extra people come and stand along the, parade and watch it. But we do have, the last couple of years I've been in the parking and organizing group, that as they arrive, and I would say a large number of them come from outside of town to participate in that parade. So that is something we could work with with Steel City Media on to see if that's another advertisement opportunity that we have.
I think we should be doing what we can for all our events to get it. So, all right. Any other questions from council?
Shelley, look like you're deep in.
I am deep in thought. I don't have a question right now.
Anyone else? All right. Any questions from the public before we move on? Go ahead.
If I understood this correctly in this recap, there's not an itemized expense sheet or statement here. That'll be covered later, is that correct?
That was our presentation.
So we don't know what expenses are, we just have a blanket category for that?
Yep.
Okay. Do we have any idea how much time city and staff and admin spends on the fair and all these special events every year?
Our staff does spend some time on multiple things, including our city events, yes.
But do we have an idea of how much that is?
I can find out for you and we can get back with you on
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. All right,
I would just add, Mayor, the actual budget, and again, it is reflected in the city's budget line item by line item what those are. So it will show budgeted amounts versus actuals. And then obviously, just as all of our budget funds have it, it'll show the percentage of whether it was, above budget or below budget. So that is out. I mean, it is in the budget.
all right, thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Jessica Elliott. I live at 217 North Campbell. And I just wanted to ask, this is like Fund 65. Is that what you're saying? It's a different special events fund? I'm just curious, when did that get started? And what funded it to start the revenues? How did that happen? So that we know, what came in, where's the trail, what came out, that kind of thing.
Trying to figure out what year, because in the past, it was just a one line item, Cass County Fair in the general fund. And then I think when one of our older finance directors, when she retired, they wanted it broken down by event and by expenses. And I honestly don't know if 15 years ago probably is when it started, when we had every event broken down by revenue and expenditures.
But it hasn't always been referred to this way, and
It's always been referred to this way.
It's Fund 65? But in the budget, it's referred to as the.
Yeah, it's Fund 65, we said.
But it's all special events come in and out of that?
Like we have our UTV parades in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about the Shamrock Shimmy, actually. I think that one might be coming out of there. Is that a park fund? I'd have to remember what that one is. But that fund is Cass County Fair and other special events.
Okay, so then there should be a check and balance, every year, this is how much we've spent, this is how much we've made, that kind of thing. Is that something that can be brought up as far as what you talked about trending? I did listen to it live, and that was fantastic to be able to listen to it live up until this point. But I was hoping to see some contrast from prior years, and that's all. Maybe we can put that in going forward.
Okay, thank you. All right. Nikki, do you have anything else for council?
I don't.
Okay. Do you have anything for closed session?
I do.
Okay.
I need 1, 3, and 12.
All right, I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMO 610-0211, 1, legal actions, 2, real estate, 12, contract negotiations. And I want to also add 3, personnel matters. I want 3. I want them all. I want all 4 of them.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-021, 1 for legal actions, litigation, and attorney, 2 for discussion of real estate, 3 for personnel, and 12 for contract negotiations.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to go into closed session for RSMO 610-021, subsection 1, 2, 3, and 12. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilman Newberry?
Yes.
Councilman Emo? Councilman Duman?
Yes.
You guys want to talk about it? Time to do it. I know sometimes you guys have.